Hi everyone, I'm Emily with Chipped and Polished. Today I want to share with you the transformation for these mid-century style nightstands. You can see they've got some scratches here, but other than that, they were in really great shape. They each had large dovetail drawers, so they were great for storage, just really great pieces. And if you follow me on Facebook or Instagram, then you may have seen where I posted a before photo of these asking for color suggestions. Not long after that, I had a past client reach out and she wanted them customized to a piece that she had purchased from me before. So the first thing I did was start cleaning them with a 50-50 mixture of crud cutter and water. And I made sure to scrub them everywhere and pay close attention to any of the crevices where dirt might be hiding, including the drawer interiors. And after scrubbing, I rinsed everything with water. For the hardware, I did a mixture of baking soda and lemon juice and just mixed it until it was the consistency of wet sand, and I left those overnight in that. I don't really have a recipe for this mixture, just add one or the other until I'm happy with it. Now, I've heard of other methods of cleaning hardware, but I feel like these are two ingredients that people usually have on hand, but you can also use ketchup or barkeeper's friend. You can also boil in vinegar. And I just make sure that the mixture is packed up around them, that they're completely covered. The next morning I just gently scrubbed it away with my fingers and then a soft toothbrush before rinsing it all off. And I went back over it one more time with a little bit of Dawn on that toothbrush after rinsing, just to make sure I didn't have any residue left behind. So the color across all four knobs still wasn't really uniform after cleaning. I had planned to spray paint them in a gold before color matching them to the hardware from the original piece my client had already purchased. I like to poke holes in cardboard so it's easy to reach every angle when spraying. And I'm just testing on a back plate here first. While that spray paint dried, I went ahead and started sanding with a 100 grit sandpaper to remove the old finish. Typically I would start with an 80 grit, but since I was working with a thin veneer, I wanted to start with 100. I'm glad I did because I still burned through in a couple of places. I also sanded the drawer interiors to make everything look really clean and new. After finishing with the 100 grit, I moved up to the 150 grit to smooth everything out and prep for paint wash. And if you are enjoying this video so far, I'd like to invite you to go ahead and subscribe, hit the like button, comment below and let me know what you think. Lastly, for sanding, I went over all of the little details that my sander couldn't reach with both grits. This was these crevices right here and any corners on the inside and such. After that, I went over everything with a damp microfiber cloth just to remove all of the dust. At this point, it was easier to see a few chips in the veneer and places that needed to be filled, so I covered those with plastic wood. Once those places were dry, I sanded it with a 150 grit again before wiping away all the dust with that damp microfiber cloth. And here I'm just testing a green wash to try to neutralize some of those red and orange tones in the wood. And you can actually see on the right side of the screen right there, I tested just the tan wash and it turned out very pink. The green wash will counteract the red tones and it'll turn it to just like a pale wood color. And I did a mix of 1 part paint to 20 parts water. I did 2 coats of my green wash and I applied it with a lint-free cloth. Looking back, I probably could have done a little bit more paint and less water and only done 1 coat, but it turned out fine. The next day, once the green wash had dried, I started tan washing with Fusion Mineral Paint's Cathedral Taupe color. Without a tan wash even being applied yet, I feel like you can really see a huge difference in color. I did a mixture of 1 part paint to 4 parts water, and you can really use any kind of tan or beige paint you like. I just knew that Cathedral Taupe was what I had used before, so I was trying to stick to the same technique. And again, I just applied this with a lint-free cloth, just going back and forth in sections and then wiping off the excess as I went. I was trying to follow a method I had used on the first piece my client had bought from me. I used a 50-50 mix of brown glaze and water, but it didn't exactly look right. It turned out a little too dark, but I went ahead and added it to the crevices on the drawers so they would have a uniform color and it wouldn't really look odd if they turned out darker. I wiped away the excess, but it had already stained a bit, so I sanded with what I believe was a 200 grit to try and remove that extra glaze. I also tried to sand the drawer that I had fully glazed, but it didn't do much good, so I went back over it with the tan wash. As you can see here, the tan wash on the one drawer didn't really work. They're not uniform at all, but I decided to let it dry overnight before doing anything else to it. I started sanding with a 600 grit so everything could be super smooth and soft to the touch, and again this included the drawer interiors. And as always, after sanding, went ahead and removed that dust with a damp microfiber cloth. One of my favorite details is always lining the drawers. I will link this paper below so you can check it out if you want. When I'm lining drawers, I try to have excess on all 4 sides. And I start in one corner, positioning it, and then I'll smooth out any air bubbles. If you do end up with air bubbles, you can always go in with a needle and poke them and then smooth them out. And drawer lining is one of those things that does take a little bit of practice, but like I said, I'm just starting in one corner, continue across the back, and then start smoothing it out with a transfer tool or a credit card, something hard and smooth. My camera ended up dying here, but the last thing to do was just to go around each edge with a sharp razor blade. After testing my colors on the back plate, I went ahead and used the Rub and Buff in the gold leaf color on the knobs. Next, I applied Howard's Feed and Wax orange oil anywhere I had bare wood. This makes things smell amazing and conditions the wood and helps the drawers slide smoothly. You can apply this with a rag or a brush, but I prefer this round, natural bristle brush. And then after a few minutes, I just wipe away the excess with a soft cloth. While working on these finishing touches, I had also been waiting to hear back from my client on pictures I had sent her of the nightstands, and I was going off notes of what I had done before and these pictures of that first chest that I had done. It's easy for me to see the difference now, but in person they looked a lot warmer in tone, and we still have that one drawer that just didn't quite turn out right. And part of this is just working with different types of wood. You never know quite what you're gonna get until you do it. Since this didn't match, I went ahead with that brown glaze that I had used on the one drawer before and started glazing everything. This was the same glaze that I had used on the 3-drawer chest, so my hope was that it would make it the same warm tan color. And my method was just to mist the surface with water and then brush the glaze on before wiping it off, working in small sections. After 2 coats of this glaze, it still looked more grayish than tan, so I moved on to Verithane's dark walnut stain and used it in the same method. I want to mention here that I use water-based products the whole way through this project. Had I used an oil-based stain, it would have been a much more drastic color change. Since this created the winning color combo, it was time to go ahead and seal everything. I used Minwax's polyacrylic in the matte sheen and used a sealing sponge to apply it. Be careful not to overload your sponge, you just need a little bit. You also want to be careful not to overwork any areas when you're sealing. Just go over it once and let it rest. If you do make a mistake, just let it dry and then go back and sand with a 400 or 600 grit sandpaper. And I did 3 coats of this polyacrylic, going in between each coat with 600 grit sandpaper. And here they are. Despite the issue with getting the color right, I think they turned out absolutely perfect, and more importantly, so did my client. I would love to know your thoughts on this project. Please comment below and let me know what you think. I would love to hear from you. And if you haven't done so already, please like this video to show your support. Subscribe to my channel so you can see future makeovers and DIY how-tos. Thanks so much for watching.